Hello, Mech fans. This is Duncan Fisher. Hold on firmly to your mana potions, fireballs, and familiars, because you are tuning in to your regularly scheduled episode of the First Circuit Podcast.
Welcome, everyone. This is Blaine Pardoe, and I have commandeered the First Circuit Podcast today. There you go. I'm seizing control of this podcast in the name of word of Blake. All hail Blake.
No.
All hail Blake.
I see nukes incoming.
Yes. Special guest Blaine Pardoe. And we'll be asking questions about everything that he's been doing, the fan fiction, everything else for the Battletech universe, and also everything else that he's been working on as well. So I'll take it up to Ian there.
I love how you immediately jump to fan fiction. I mean, I've read Battletech fan fiction. There's some interesting stuff there. I wouldn't particularly define Blaine works as fan fiction, but
What?
sure.
Well, okay. Well, I mean, I'm a fan. So.
Anyway, this is the First Circuit Podcast episode 133. Blaine, for those of you who don't know you, would you like to reintroduce yourself since you've not been here for over a year?
34.
My name is Blaine Pardoe. I've been with Battletech since the first tech readout. I was one of the original writers then. Written a lot of books, a lot of source material, and that's really my background. I read a lot of Battletech stuff. And I've been doing it for 35 years.
35 years. Like, have you enjoyed it though? Like, that's one of your passions, or is it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan. People don't understand that, and I think Mike Stackpole and I were talking about it because I think people forget that we're fans of the BattleTech universe first, and just happen to be writers. So we enjoy it just like everybody else does, and I always say that because we take it personal when people go, "Well, you didn't capture it right. This isn't how that would work," or whatever. And we're like, "Well, actually, it is." But we're very much fans like everybody else with this stuff. So
True. Yeah, that is one.
that's why I'm doing the podcast. I love talking about this stuff.
That's why we do the podcast too. We love talking about it, all the different news and all the different stuff that comes out from you guys and from Mechwarrior line and everything, and just everything Battletech per se. We just love it. We love that kind of stuff. But yeah, so sorry,
Kitty.
A casual kitty. Like I foster kittens, so I gotta kick them off my desk all the time. But yeah. So what's your best work that you think it is? Like what's your best work that you did so far? As far as out of 35 years that you worked on Battletech, what do you think your best stuff is?
It's hard to say because it varies as time passes. I honestly think Hour of the Wolf will probably be one of the defining books because it brings together so many disparaging plot lines that have to be kind of tied together. We're ending the Dark Ages era and starting the Ill Clan era, and so you have to really bring closure for the fans of the Dark Ages, and there's quite a few out there. And you have to be able to then kind of transition into laying the foundation for the stuff that goes forward. And I think Hour of the Wolf will probably change a lot of what our perceptions of some of the parts of the universe are. Published work so far, hands down, I would say Forever Faithful is definitely, it's just near and dear to my heart. Because I love the character of Trent, and I was able to kind of bring his arc fully around, and I really enjoyed being able to take Paul Moon and do that. I enjoy Children of Kerensky quite a bit. It's rare that I read my own books, but I've read Children of Kerensky now 3 times because I enjoy the space battle scene so much. We just don't do enough of in Battletech, I think, and it's fun to do. And I would say, obviously, Betrayal of Ideals is just a fun one for romp when I did it, and I enjoy it.
Actually,
that's a definition of fun.
You do bring up a good point that I've been trying to process through a lot of different people. Is there's so much of the universe that's out there, besides just battle mechs. Basically, like if you read the books, if you get into the canon of everything that's out there, I mean, each planet has their own type of culture. Each planet has their own languages. Each planet has like all these different things that are going on. And so if you actually reach into the source material like you guys have written through the source books, through the different universe itself, there's so much out there besides walking mechs. Of course, Battletech is the main course of the battle scenes and everything, but there's the infantry troops, there's the helicopters, there's the supply sergeant, there's like a whole bunch of different things you could actually input like into there that a lot of people don't get into, that I love looking at. I mean, I like battle mechs, don't get me wrong. I love battle mechs, but there's so much out there. There's a huge source material.
You're going to love Hour of the Wolf, because one of the key tenets that we did with that is, I said, I want to tell this story of this epic battle from all the different perspectives. So we have aerospace pilots. We have a tank crew that is my absolute favorite pair of characters I've ever written about. They're hilarious. They're funny. And they kind of break that mold of what you think about Klansmen, because it really hit me early on that all of our Klansmen sound exactly alike. And they all are, they all talk in that rigid form. And literally, if you don't know the character that's talking, you can't tell if you read words. So I created a couple of characters that don't talk like your normal clanners. It's the kind of camaraderie you'd have with a tank crew, riding around a tin can that can explode around you. We have infantry, we have elementals. I really wanted to tell that whole depth of story from all the different perspectives, because this book is one big battle. I mean, it starts with Clan Wolf jumping into the Terra system, and it goes through everything that follows.
That's awesome. I'm gonna go. I don't think I ever read that book, actually. To tell you the truth,
No, it's brand new. It hasn't come out.
okay.
It comes out in 20 days.
Oh, okay.
Somebody was saying, they asked me, what did you put on the back cover? And I said, my opening joke was, Tukian was for wusses.
Because
For 35 years, we have wallowed around Tukian and said, oh, well, that was this epic battle. And if you get down to it, it's a third of Mike's novel is the actual battle. So it's kind of funny. It's like, that's where the Battletech universe keeps going back to, and it's never ending well. And I'm like, okay, well, we're going to break that mold.
True. Well. Actually, not the battle, but the whole campaign was when Kerensky came back and took over Terra, like, against the Armored Civil War. That's a big campaign, but that's huge. I mean, that's on multiple planet wise.
Oh, that is.
Yeah. But yeah, true. Okay, Ian.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just getting Game of Thrones flashbacks. I'm not gonna take over the wheel. I'm gonna break it. And no, I'm kind of just imagining a certain someone nuking all of Terra to make sure no one fights for Terra ever again.
True.
Uh-oh.
Oh, jeez.
Uh-oh.
Oh, would I do that? Well,
Never.
Biter.
So
my rough understanding is, last book I read was the Shattered Fortress, and Hour of the Wolf is sort of picking up from where that left off, or are there other books in between?
well, there's novels in between. It first was Divided We Fall, which is where Alaric Ward reaches out to the Bulls Dragoons to say, look, we're going to be fighting on Terra against the Jade Falcons. You need to come, and they come. There's a lot that goes with that. Then we had Rock of the Republic, which is the resurrection of Devlin Stone and how the Republic is preparing for what's coming. And then we had Children of Kerensky, which really talks the whole arc of Alvina Hazen and Alaric, and how the two clans are kind of in this mad race to Terra. And that book ends with first elements of Clan Wolf jumping into the system, which is referenced in Shattered Fortress. At the end of Shattered Fortress on January 1st, you have a mysterious fleet jumping into the system, and that's where we go.
Yeah.
So
These are setting up all the pins for the bowling ball to come all through at the big old battle in the Hour of the Wolf.
Yeah, Hour of the Wolf is it just starts with battle. I mean, there's no other way to do it. And then you've in there as well, you've got like Icons of War, which Craig Reed wrote, which was really good. And I don't remember the name of Michael's book, which is the Northwind Highlander book, which is kind of a part 1 and part 2. So there's some really good other authors who have really crafted some stuff that kind of feed into this too. It's going to be
I guess.
fun. It's going to be a lot of carnage, a lot of destruction.
Oh.
And I think the end of the book will absolutely stun everyone.
Well,
So
what Battletech is carnage and destruction. I mean, every major thing that happens inside Battletech, major things. 2050.
You're
Hey,
not
the clans
helping my
come.
expectation of nukes here.
this is the largest piece of fiction ever produced in Battletech. Typical Battletech novel back in the old FASA days, paperbacks were supposed to be around 65,000 words. Sometimes they were a little less, sometimes they were a little more, but that's how big they were. This book clocked in at 169,000 words.
Wow.
So it's roughly 2.5 times the size of your traditional battle.
Oh my God, that's huge.
Is it still being published as a single physical book?
Yes.
Okay, good,
I-
cool.
And thank
Okay.
God I don't give them any ideas about splitting it up. Do not want them to do that. And they're no, it's got to be one. You got to put somebody in for the whole ride because I think it's going to leave the reader exhausted as well as the warrior characters in the book.
hmm
You got to go along with them, and some of the chapter links are deliberately done to exhaust the reader. But it's like I got to know what happens next. I have to know what happens next, and that's going to be very compelling. It's going to be I can't wait because they're dropping it on January 1st to coincide with the January 1st arrival of the Wolf Clan fleet.
hmm
So while all the Battletech communities hung over from New Year's Eve, they're all going to be downloading the book and reading it. So it'll be interesting.
But the physical book
Hmm.
will be through like Amazon or anything, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they've got the pre-order up for the ebook. It's my understanding they can't do the pre-order for the physical book until like around the 28th or 29th.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, because I'm an old-fashioned guy. I just like reading, picking up the book and, open up, sit back, relax, and kind of do that kind of thing. Looking at a screen, I just can't do it. I fall asleep so many times just looking at screens. And, I'm just that type of guy. I'm old-fashioned, I guess. I don't know.
I'm just gonna say, Bob, you just need the correct screen.
Well, I
Yeah.
have the Kindle. I got 2 Kindles, but it's like every time I read something, it's just like, oh God, I just fall asleep all the time. That's my problem. It might be the lighting,
Okay.
or
You need
something
it
like
in
that.
audiobook form.
Yes, read to me, please. I'd like to read. I'd like to hear, please.
Oh, read by George Ledoux. Ooh,
Okay.
that'd be fun.
Okay, so that was a prologue. Let's see here.
I mean, Bob, your prologue covered most of my initial questions, so
No,
I'm
no,
fine
no.
with it.
Go,
Keep going.
go ahead, Eden. You're good. I don't know what I'm doing, so it's okay. Let's see.
Okay.
What?
We've talked about most
okay.
things that happened since the last time we've talked. I
Mhm.
think last time we talked was around the release of Forever Faithful,
Mhm.
which, by the way, I've
Okay.
read shortly after the podcast, and I quite liked it. Interesting how you managed to
Good.
turn around the character Trent. I didn't care for him at all in the main novel line, and this made me not like him, but at least sympathize with him. So, good job.
That's
Thanks for
good.
giving me a good book to read.
Good.
And we talked about most of the things that have happened since then. Anything you've missed you want to add here? Any major releases you're
Other
proud of?
than all I could say is I've been putting out a lot of material. It still isn't out yet for the Kickstarter, so there's a ton of fiction that comes out through that too, and that's been a lot of fun. I mean, it's great to see BattleTech on a resurgence,
Mhm.
and there's new people coming on board with it. People are painting miniatures again. They're getting into it. It is absolutely. This is like the Renaissance. Ooh.
Yeah, the remake.
I still haven't painted them.
You got 4 of them, so you have a whole lance of them.
Yeah, Ruby Lances. So speaking of the Kickstarter, are you involved with the process of getting the backer characters into lore at all?
Oh yeah, I've got. If you go to my blog on WordPress, you'll see that I have like a running list of people that I put in books, and many of them are now the backer characters. I started that with Forever Faithful, which didn't include the canon characters, but it just was it's so hard to get names. I used to go to a phone book and go through it, but there are no more phone books. So
Yeah.
I started using fans on Facebook, and they became characters or places or whatever, and it was kind of fun. The fans liked it, and then apparently someone got the idea with the Kickstarter of doing the canon characters. It's been a real journey. I have this huge spreadsheet now that when I need a character, I can go through and say, "Give me Clan Wolf people." The hard part I struggle with is I love using the canon characters, and some of them are some of the best characters that we have coming out in the Hour of the Wolf. I really do believe that, and we did that in Children of Kernsky too. But some of the characters are really hard to use because they go Bob Smith, and he's a Clan Wolf warrior. Okay, well, Smith isn't a blood name. How do I, or they come up with some, Razor Crest Falcon Tor or whatever is his name, and it's like, okay, that's not a blood name. I can't figure that out. And some of the people have written, shall we say, intriguing backgrounds for their characters that in 2 sentences they managed to squeeze what would take 6 novels to describe. And you sit there and look at it and go, this is all very interesting, but this is a character that's going to have 3 lines in a book, so I can't fit all that in. And I think there's a struggle a little bit with some of the characters, and some of the people have picked things that are, I want to be the Khan of Clan Wolverine. Okay, I don't know how to do that, and I've written all the Clan Wolverine stuff. So, given where the clan is and the known characters in the known universe, they've picked things that are just weird. And hopefully we'll be able to figure out a way to resolve some of the more fringe ones. But I basically, when I'm working on this, I put in X's for characters, and then I'll go to the spreadsheet and start looking for somebody that will fit this. The problem is too, there's certain units that we're using because of the scale of this last battle that we've been doing on Terra, where which galaxy and which units are actually involved. And so you'll go through the list and go, gee, everybody picked people in Alpha Galaxy or Beta Galaxy. I need somebody from Gamma, for this scene, to fit the thing. So we've had to tweak a few of them and go, okay, well, we're going to change this guy. He's not going to be in the 4th Wolf Dragoons. We're moving him over here, and it's a challenge. But I would say this: I think some of the fans are going to get rewards that are way beyond what characters were described. There's a couple of them that are seriously awesome characters that will continue on into the next era. So they will be some of the heroes and heroines of the Ill Clan era that, so we're establishing them. So some of them are going to get huge play, some of them get little play.
Yeah. Basically, when I picked my character, I pretty much went with a jump ship captain because I figured basically you could do anything with a jump ship captain. Really, basically put him, he's working for this guy and doing, ferrying a unit over here, doing that kind of thing. Just inside the universe, type thing. And I sent in the information, but haven't got anything back from him. I'm gonna have to go check again. But yeah, just a jump ship captain. Everyone's a Battletech pilot, which is fine. They're out there. But like you explained, I can just imagine what you got to go through. It's like I want to be the ilk, like you said, I want to be the ilk kind of Clan Wolverine or Clan Wolf. It's like, yeah, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna be there.
Yeah, I can't figure out how to make that. Some things work, and you don't want to break the universe just so somebody can say that they've gotten that. So some of that will get worked out over time, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
I
definitely.
hope.
Definitely by far.
Some of them are great though. I mean, we had one guy who put it, and I don't remember who the canon and backer was, but he had a character called Odessa Karinsky, and he had a nice little background for her and just good description of her. And I was like, okay, I'm going to amp this up.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to be this hugely important character, and I've had fun. She's one of my favorite characters in the book because she's the person that volunteers your unit for everything, and you can imagine what that's like if you're in the unit. It's like, oh shit. They actually joke about like, I think she hates us. Well, are you going to tell her? No, I'm not going to tell her. I'm not going to talk to her about it. She'll volunteer us for more shit, and it's just fun. It's just some of the characters really pop.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. That's cool. So, I'm curious. Actually, just one more question. Like, then I'll let Ian go through it. How many backers were actually for the have canon characters and everything?
A lot. I never sat and counted them.
Oh, really? Okay.
I just access the spreadsheet and kind of go through it. So I can't tell you exactly how many, but there were a lot.
Okay.
And it's interesting too to see where I at one point I was gonna graph it out just to see how many people clan
Mm-hmm.
and how many house and faction, just to see kind of where the trends were. It's a pretty wide dispersion.
True. Okay, Ian. You were saying?
Yeah, Bob, if you want to check out on the characters, I believe Kalos has published a website where you can get a look at the database of who created what character and what their
Oh.
backstory is and such.
Do you know the website?
So if I can send it to you later. If you
okay.
really want, you can count them all in there.
Oh, okay. I will count them then. I'm not. I'm just curious. That's all.
It's
Okay.
really cool to hear, though, how much effort you put into keeping the characters' lore true to the original idea. I personally expected you guys to just mostly change them a fair bit. But yeah, looking at the database, a lot of the characters are very reasonable, I'd say. Not as over the top as I expected.
There's some. I think most of the people are hit the nail on the head. Some of the backstories were just. There's no way to incorporate some of the backstories. This guy was a bondsman of this clan, then he was bondsman of this clan, he was a bondsman of this clan. There's one I found that had he was bondsman to 3 different clans. And I'm like, look, I can't get into all that. I just can't.
That's a
It's too
highly
much.
sought after warrior.
Yeah, I know. You lost how many times? Exactly.
Oh, that's been fun with this book too, because every time we talk about bondsman, the editor John Helfers, who's absolutely phenomenal with this, he and I have this thing of like the concept of bondsman makes only sense within the clans. It's when you go outside the clans, it makes absolutely no sense. And we actually play with that in the book a little bit too. They take some inner sphere people bondsmen, and they're like, "So now you think I'm going to fight for you? Like, are you mental?" Yeah, like, what? Why just because you think you're honoring me? Think I'm going to? You were trying to kill me an hour ago, and now you want me to be on your side. That's crazy. And there's concepts about the clan culture that you really got to explore a little bit because we challenge some of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, the idea of bondsman always threw me off a tiny bit, and I enjoyed the idea of.
I mean, I understand it through clan culture, basically. But if you're going to be like 3 or 4 different types of bondsmen, they're not going to really hold you up to frontline omnimex. They're going to put you in the second line, like Locust or something like that. That kind of thing. But yeah.
Well, and it's the same thing with Solhamatroops, and we did this in Children of Kernsky. The concept of Solhamatroops, and if you go to Sarna or anywhere, it's always like, well, these are older warriors, and they're used as cannon fodder. And John and I had this discussion. I said, does anybody know how stupid that sounds? He said, this is a martial culture. So you might be raised in a Simcoe where half the people get killed during your upbringing. You're an older warrior. Now, granted, you didn't rise in rank, you didn't become a Khan, but the concept that you are living in this martial society where people just die if they're not good.
Mm-hmm.
You've managed to make it to old age, 40 years old. You're actually pretty much a badass. You're not cannon fodder. And Alaric actually challenges that in Children of Kerensky. And he's like, maybe we've been using the Salhama all wrong. Maybe these are the best replacement troops we can get. Like they've lived a lifetime in this culture, and why are we going to throw them out as cannon fodder if we can put them in a mech and have them really wreck some carnage? And I like that concept. So those are the ways we kind of challenge clan culture a little bit within the storylines and stuff. And I enjoy doing it.
I enjoy looking at the different
Just never,
aspects. Yeah, yeah, true.
it's fun. So
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
We have 5 veteran Mechwarriors here turning up ready for duty. All right, we'll make them the armchair division. Send them out. Don't give them battle mechs. That would be silly.
Give him a pistol and a knife. Okay, Ian.
Yeah, going back to actually publishing novels for a bit. Book writing and the COVID pandemic, has anything majorly changed over the past year in that regard?
highly much more productive. If you can't go out,
Yeah,
just sit right.
yeah,
I mean, honestly, I retired from my career. And I retired to be a writer last year, which, as it turns out, was really a good timing for me. And this concept of we're going to make you stay at home, you can't go out. Dude, that's the lifestyle I signed up for.
true.
That's why I retired early, was so that I could be a writer full time. So it's changed where I order food from, but other than that, it's been awesome. And I know everybody else kind of complains about COVID, but I'm all in. This has been great. I've enjoyed it. I know that sounds terrible, and please don't take it that I'm sensitive to 300,000 people in the United States dying and stuff. But if your question is how am I reacting to it and how it impacts writing, the thing is I'm significantly more productive.
I mean,
So
you do have a point. You do have a point there. I mean, truly. I do have one question though. How long does it take to actually write a book? I've always wondered that. To actually sit down, like how long did it take you to write the last book?
Power of the Wolf took a long time because we started some of the discussions around what was going to be in the book in 2017 at Gen Con. So
Mhm.
this and it went through 2 major rewrites because of some things we wanted to change, which is fine. It's actually been phenomenal. The actual physical time to write a typical Battletech novel for me, and I can't say that I'm normal. Depends on if there's any other projects going. If there's no other projects that I'm working on at the same time, I can actually do one in about a month and a half, 2 months. And that's because, as you were saying, with COVID, I don't have anywhere to go.
Mhm.
This is my hobby / career type thing. So
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I can, and I will say this: Catalyst has taken full advantage of that throughput. I mean, and that's been great because that's what I wanted to do. I mean, this is what I enjoy doing. So
Cool.
it's been a lot of fun.
It's been a
That's
lot of fun
awesome.
reading, actually. So yeah, true.
So, on the physical side of book releases, I mean, obviously the whole printing process and stuff like that has been delayed over the past year for a lot of things. Are there any other aspects to writing a novel, like meeting up with your editor and stuff like that, that have been made more difficult, or is it just been smooth sailing in that regard?
Honestly, John and I communicate during Skype all the time, and I will go online and go, "Hey, I got a question for you. What about this?" Or and if he needs me, he puts me in. We talk, and that's how we were doing it before COVID, and that's how we're doing it now. So honestly, it really hasn't been a hindrance at all. It just we've managed to really kind of keep tight to it. For the novels, they're doing what's called POD or print on demand through Amazon. So those are once they get the layout of the book, etc., and in the system, you just click a button and Amazon has a printing press somewhere that prints them off and mails them out. And bookstores can order them that way too. I've had a lot of fans say, well, gee, I wish you guys were more in bookstores. Well, bookstores can order our stuff, and get it in. It's a different creature altogether to work with, let's say, Barnes and Noble to try to get a book in a bookstore. You need 6 months of lead time to do that in many cases, so that they can pre-sell to each of their outlets how many books they're going to order in physical form, what sort of display they're going to have. There's a big difference on, is your book showing on the spine or is it showing on the face? Things along those lines. And there's things that you have to pay for that. And if you threw in an additional 6 months for Battletech fans just for the privilege of being able to go to a Barnes and Noble or Books A Million to buy the book, that means delaying the books for 6 months, and maybe costing actually more money. So, it's a trade-off that goes on in that, and that's been part of the problem in the book industry. I think the traditional bookstores are
Dying.
they struggle. They
Yeah.
struggle with this stuff, and their model is so damned out of date.
Yeah.
In
Well,
terms
yeah.
of just getting books on shelves and stuff, and it's a pain.
I mean, I agree with you. Like, I haven't been to a bookstore, I mean, for years. I literally just look, basically go online now, like read a couple reviews and, go, oh, that looks interesting. I'll go purchase it, stuff like that. And that's what I've been doing lately or for years now. Yeah, I mean, bookstores, I mean, I can't even tell you, man. It's been like a decade or something like that for a long time. Since I had nothing else to do, I would go to the mall or something like that and just kind of just peruse. But I mean, I don't go to malls anymore now. Just online. Everything's online now. It's just, you don't have to do anything. You literally do not have to leave your house at all. No, it's crazy. I mean, I don't know.
And when you do go to bookstores, what you see is a lot of people on their phones. So if they see a book that they like, they go and see, where can I get it cheaper than where it is right here?
True.
And that's, I've watched people in Barnes and Noble and Books A Million sit there and order on Amazon while they're in the bookstore. And that traditional model of the big bookstore doesn't necessarily work. Today's way of people purchasing.
Mhm.
If I can save $2 by ordering it on Amazon and get it shipped to me for free, the only difference is it's going to take a day or two before I get it. I'll wait the day or two.
That's generally what's happening now. Just like the TV
Yeah.
repair guy. No one. Why would you bring your TV in when it costs? I mean, literally nothing to go get another one. Literally.
Right.
So yeah, it's a dead model. So yeah, true.
Well, usually when I go into bookstores nowadays, it's just the front area is just bestrewed with only the most biggest best-selling blockbuster books, because their market is just that very casual audience who go in there. But I'm wanting sort of to go to the back shelves and find the more obscure and niche genres.
Yeah.
And there's only a few books back there stowed away, hidden.
True.
Especially the sci-fi and fantasy sections have been such a letdown in past years.
Yeah, they have
I always
actually.
make an effort to go into bookstores if I'm near one, but just especially since I nowadays prefer to read English novels rather than German, and obviously German bookstores have German novels, and the international section is non-existent. So it's
Jim?
sad.
It's changed, and the bookstores are now carrying toys and games and doing everything they can to try to tread water. And I don't know if it's going to work or not. We've seen some major chains like Borders just die,
Mhm.
which was sad. It's sad to see them go, but honestly, they weren't doing a lot to support as a writer. There were a lot of times I had books, especially not in the science fiction genre, but other genres I write in. And you would call a bookstore and go, "Well, look, I'll come in and do a signing," and they always treated it like it was a freaking burden.
Really?
To set up a table and, well, how many books do we have to order? And then if we order the books, if they don't sell, there's a huge thing of, well, do you autograph them and put them out with a sticker that says autographed by the author, or do they ship them back? And they're kind of like, well, you got to tell us how many people show up to your signing. I don't.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and frankly, it's a little awkward sitting at a table waiting for people to walk up and chit chat with you, because they always kind of walk up and you kind of feel obligated to try to tell them about your book, and a lot of times they look at you like, I don't care.
Hmm.
I hate that whole thing of sitting at the table. It's just creepy. Or you get the people that walk up and go, "Oh, this doesn't sound like something I'd enjoy."
Well, thanks.
Thanks for making me feel awkward.
Generally though, like I normally now just go to used bookstores to find the old books that I
Mhm.
want to go read, or just obscure stuff that it's not the like Biter was saying, like the major bestsellers, type thing. I want to go find just some. Oh, that looks like interesting. That what the people at the bookstores want to. Of course, this is like a decade ago, but people at bookstores want to sell you instead of like oh, that looks pretty cool. I'll go check that book out. Based off artwork or read the back cover and stuff like that. That's what I've been doing.
You reminded me of somebody I blasted on Facebook like a year or two ago because they're like, "Hey, Blaine, I picked up 3 of your books at a used bookstore." I'm like, "Hey, thanks for screwing me out of the royalties."
Battletech books I
Could
buy
I tell you
new.
to fuck up? Yeah, could I? Why didn't you just urinate on me or something? I mean, you just basically said, "I bought your books, and you're not going to make any money
Yeah.
off them." Ha ha ha. Thanks, I appreciate it. But I get it. Some of the stuff like the Dark Ages novels aren't available in print,
Mhm.
and they're not available digitally. I respect that. I don't mind if somebody's going, "Look, I'm trying to round out some of the Dark Ages stuff." If you're buying something that's available now on
Oh
print
yeah.
on demand or ebook, and you're buying it at the used bookstore, it's like, dude, you're just trying to irritate me.
I mean,
Don't tell me about it. Just don't go blatantly like, "Hey, look, I deliberately didn't put money in your pocket." Ha ha
But I have
ha.
been actually
so
purchasing. What's that?
there's one way I would sort of phrase it, just that if you're a fan of BattleTech, you already know the way to support
Oh yeah, yeah.
is to buy it from Catalyst Games and whatnot. Buy them from directly. Um, Usually, though, if you go to used bookstores, it really helps with discoverability. That you might find stuff that you never come across before.
Yeah.
And there are certainly websites out there, but how do you come across them? And just how do you dip your toe in paying full price? Whereas going to the used
Right.
bookstore, like I wouldn't, at least in my head, it's like if somebody finds a used BattleTech book and says, "Oh, I really love this," that's like, all right, good. Could you buy some more?
Look, I
Yeah.
have been actually because I like how the books look on this, and so like I'm gonna have like all the old books like an old fashioned print, which is small ones, and then these ones like right next to them, kind of basically because I love this type of. The size of the book is really good, and like everything else for this, and that's why I started purchasing these ones from like Amazon, and still also trying to find the used ones for the older ones for the sword and dagger, like those types, basically trying to find those as well. But I want to have both types
And
next to
Sword
each
and the
other.
Dagger's not even out there.
Oh no,
Sword and the
it's like about
Dagger's
$100
not even
bucks.
out there.
It's about $100. I had it once. I sold it on eBay for 120 or something like that, but which I should have done.
Hey Bob,
But
if you just want the cover, buy the German ones.
just buy the
They're
German
really
ones.
cheap on eBay.
Oh no,
Yeah.
no. I know. I want to read them too. That's the problem. But like I plan to have like a nice bookshelf with this type, and I love the size of this. It's a beautiful size, nice size. But and then
Yeah, trade paperback.
yeah. But yeah, okay.
It's good. They're fun.
Just a quick question for the Ian, like you mentioned, German ones. Are they actually like translated into German? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
Most, at least the original BattleTech novels, the main novel line, and a majority of the Dark Age novels have been translated. And that's how I got into the BattleTech lore. I started reading them all the way back in primary school.
Mhm.
So it's certainly been interesting when I dove into the English BattleTech community for the first time, and people were talking about the Crusader, and I'm like, the fuck's a Crusader? I've never read that name, because interestingly, most of the German mech names are translated word by word, and it's so ridiculous, but there you go. You get used to it. So we've talked a fair bit about digital versus physical, Blaine. What do you prefer, physical books or
I
this
already
kind
know
of
this
thing?
one.
I like I have a stack here of my own stuff that I like having just for a bookshelf of. I always want a few copies of my own book. I tend to read 90% of what I read right now on my Kindle.
Mhm.
It's just I like being able to carry a complete library of stuff with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of the same boat. I have this giant bookshelf in my living room with all the Battletech novels, but if I actually want to read them, I just copy the whole library over on this thing and just read it on the go.
No, I'm more of
Yeah,
the older guy.
well, and I respect the older guys. It always kind of cracks me up when we see a new book coming out because they're like, "Is it going to be in print?" Like the last 3 years, every book's come out in print.
Yeah.
Yes, it's going to be in print. Yeah, it's like, oh my God, they asked that question. Then it's usually followed by the one guy who goes, "It's going to be an audiobook." That always sets me off because I'm like, I don't care. I don't listen to audiobooks. I don't want to hear somebody reading my book. I don't want to do that. It's creepy enough if I'm reading my book. And because I know what the voices sound like. I actually have dialogue in character voices.
Mm-hmm.
When I do characters. I mean, and so when I hear somebody else do it, they're doing it all wrong.
I think the only audiobooks they had were there was 3 of them, I believe, that they did.
Yeah.
Uh,
So far.
yeah, so far, but I don't
There's a
think they can do more.
There's a huge production cost with those because you have to hire the talent to sit and read them and edit their audio files down, and it takes a long time.
Mm-hmm. True.
So
True.
I'm always waiting because Catalyst is always looking to save money. I keep waiting for him to. Hey, Blaine, would you do your own book? Because if I do, I'm going to do it in voice, characters. So
Yeah, those are the only kinds of audiobooks that I really enjoyed so far. Either read by the author, or there's one in the Star Wars universe that's from the perspective of a character, and then they got the voice actor from that character to read the novel. And it's so cool because it's just like you've watched the animated series, and then you read the novel that starts immediately after the series, and it's just straight up a continuation only about the visuals. That kind
Wow.
of stuff is really
that's
cool.
cool.
That is cool,
That's
actually.
cool.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe the final thing about writing for now. Besides your Battletech work, have you worked on anything other in the past few months or years that's exciting?
I'm doing a whole bunch of stuff. We're doing with our own startup company. I've written the intro trilogy to our new game system and universe. So those are done and edited at this point. So we're gonna kickstart those out in the next year, which is great. They're just really cool novels and they're kind of fun. I've been doing a lot of stuff getting ready for the Leviathans Kickstarter for Catalyst. I'm working on a novella for them right now, which is, they haven't launched it yet. It's coming this spring, but they're going to relaunch Leviathans and do it via Kickstarter. And so I've done a bunch of stuff for that. And I'm still doing true crime books and a little bit of everything. TV stuff coming up and
Wow.
all sorts of interesting stuff.
You've truly
Leviathans.
been busy.
I don't think you've even heard about this. Can you just give a quick thing like what that's about, or just genres or?
Flying dreadnoughts.
Okay.
They're the flying battleships, and it's a really cool universe because it's set in World War I era, and
Oh, okay.
got all the major powers, and they have these flying dreadnoughts. They look like a dreadnought, but they're flying, and it's cool. The game system itself.
Hmm.
I love the game system because you assemble kind of this pool of dice and roll it. That tells you like, did you hit, where you hit, how bad you hit,
Oh,
type
wow.
thing. And it's a really awesome system, and it uses colored dice. And we played the game when it first came out from Catalyst quite a bit, but they ran into issues getting the miniatures going for it and sustaining it. And now now that they've been through this and have kind of worked through some of the kinks with the Battletech Kickstarter, they're getting ready to kick off the Leviathans Kickstarter this spring, and I'm really pumped about it.
I'll have to check that out because I never even heard of that. I seen artwork with battleships flying, but I never really went, oh wow, Catalyst Games made this or anything. I never saw that actually. That's cool. I'll check that out.
Oh, it's a fun game. And there's some games that are more BattleTech. I always say it's 6 hours of you fighting a 30-second battle. Leviathans is a lot more
Yeah.
How the pace is a little.
Yeah, the thing about Battletech is, it takes a long time to do one battle. Long time, especially if you do like
Yeah.
like battalions versus battalions over like a 60-foot table. It takes a long time.
At least it's not as bad as
Yeah.
Warhammer.
Don't get me started, Warhammer.
I've yet to understand how you even do it. So many dice, so many words.
Play an orc and you'll figure out you'll never like dice again. Just me.
So I've heard, yeah.
Okay.
Right, so moving on somewhat, one of the main things we want to talk to you, Blaine, is the new miniature company. We don't have too much information about that, mainly from the Kickstarter. Two of Catalyst's very own art director Brent Evans and mainstay author Blaine Pardoe have teamed up to embark on a massive venture, creating a new plastic miniature production company here in the United States. And that's mainly what we've gotten, Blaine.
Well, and I think they view it as a miniatures production company. We're looking at producing miniatures for our own role-playing and desktop game that's going to come out that ties in with the novels I mentioned, which is called Land and Sea. And that's going to be fun. And we started taking a look at what we had to do some of the production of those miniatures. So one of the things we did, Brent had access to the 3D files of the Battletech miniatures, and he said, well, let's do a proof of concept using one of those 3D files. So I've got one up here. This is a Crusader we made. We made it with a mold, and it's in individual parts. The legs are different than the torso and the arms, so it can. And
wow.
we did them, and they're
Okay, yeah.
It was a lot of fun to do. I'm not a great painter, but you get the general idea here. So we did a proof of concept for us. This was just for us to go, can we make molds, is the material right? How's the mold going to hold up, etc. So we ended up making a boatload of Crusaders through this process, and a lot of spare Crusader failed parts where we learned some lessons, and an arm with an air bubble or a torso with an or
Yeah.
so we had bags of this stuff, and we didn't throw anything away because it was like we wanted to learn from it. Well, Brent started talking with Catalyst and said, by the way, look what we can do. And they were like, damn, that's actually equal to, if not better than the quality we're getting with our Kickstarter plastics. So they started some dialogue around that, and we said, and it really kind of falls down to what would we try to produce, and to start with, and I phrase it that way carefully, we thought let's explore doing some variant mechs, and we kind of tied it in with Tukiyid. So you got the variant of the Black Knight with the giant sword, and the variant of the Stormcrow with the McBuster, configuration. So we started with the original 3D models, and we've been playing with those, and we've made some prototypes. That's all they are, and probably seen them up on Facebook, etc. They are prototypes. We're still trying to work through some of the kinks and along those lines. And Catalyst was like, look, we would like to contract you guys to do just kind of these variants, make them available, etc. And through our web store, and if people want them, they can get them. Now, originally, when we talked with Catalyst, they were like, they'd like them assembled and kind of in the same little box, that they did the Kickstarter. And we started talking to him, and I was like, the fans just cut these things apart to repose them anyway, and we're making them in parts.
Mm-hmm.
Why not just give them a little Ziploc bag with the parts, and they can super glue the thing any way they want? And that got a lot of warm reaction from both the fan base and from Catalyst, because they're like, that's probably how a lot of people are used to doing it anyway. Because it lets you then get variant poses. So I have two of the Crusaders here, and you'll see I've got kind of different arm poses for both of them. So I was experimenting with what's the range here and I was just having, I think the fans liked that idea. So the initial plan was, let's do a couple of mechs. When they're ready, we'll make them available through the Catalyst store. We'll produce them for Catalyst. if the fan base goes, hey, this is something we want and we want to see more of, we'll do it. So as we're going through all of this, Brent and I are, and our team, which, there's Eric Crew and there's Kevin who does our miniatures, is absolutely fantastic. We're all sitting here talking. We all end up with these bags of parts of things that don't come out of the mold right. And I said, I'll bet the fans would pay for those because you can glue them on the base and you can have your mech like standing on a crushed torso of a mangled crusader, for
Yep. Yeah,
example.
that's a lot of people do that.
And so we're like, oh, well, this is good because normally you, as a company, you would throw those things away, and this is a way to kind of recycle them. So we started batting that idea around. We haven't got Catalyst on board with that yet, but I think they'll warm to it. And another thing we talked about too, we made the bases, and Brent has made like 600 bases at this point. The little plastic bases, they're exactly like the ones for the Kickstarter. And I started looking at them going, well, couldn't we pre-mold some of these with craters, maybe like a crushed corner of a building so you could position your mech like in a building?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Would that be something that the field like? Because I said those are really simple as opposed to the complexities of casting arms and legs and torsos and stuff so that they all fit together. And so it's a real challenge, but we're exploring those things right now, and I'm one. I think we'll actually sell more of the destroyed parts of mechs than we'll ever sell of the mechs, because everybody coined the phrase, let's call them dime bags. We'll sell Ziploc bag for $10. I was like, can we not use a drug for this? But
yeah, exactly.
but to Battletech fans, it is a drug. Miniature part, and there'll be guys that cobble these together because some of those air pocket holes look like battle damage. So you could conceivably, if you got the right parts, cobble together some mechs, or you could put together a Franken mech. And you still got to figure out, one, is there an appetite for it, which I think is, and two, how do you package them? So do you buy a bag of Crusader parts, or do you just buy a bag of parts? Is one of the things we cast as well. Just we went to the other extreme. So this, and it's I'm still painting. This is our Marauder 2 using it. This thing's got so many damn parts. This was very complex to do. And so we have a bunch of these too. So do you mix in, different mech parts in a bag, or do you go, look, if you buy the bag, you're getting a bunch of Marauder parts. If you buy this bag, you're getting a bunch of these. It's so much we'd have to work through before we get there. And right now, the real focus is let's get these 2 variant mechs out. So that's kind of the overview. The whole goal is to do this so that we can produce miniatures for our upcoming tabletop and role playing game for Land at Sea. So it's one of these things where it's like, well, this is a good start. And our intent is to not only be doing these, but get to the point where we're doing full blown plastic injection mold. We want to be doing dice and miniatures here in the United States. Not be waiting on a slow boat from China, not dealing with Chinese, regulations and quality issues. And we think a lot of game companies are going to kind of want to come towards us with this once we get it up and perfected, because they like the ability to deal with a local thing. And it may cost a little bit more, as we do it, but is that worth it to have a greater degree of control, especially over the quality? And I think after we went through the Kickstarter thing and everybody got their dice, you get a vibe for, there's a big difference between what they sent you in the prototype and what you see in production.
Oh yeah,
Gotta have
definitely.
that kind of quality control.
Well, like you talked about quality control and everything else. Would people want to buy just bad parts that you made? And yes, Chess does the same thing. At every convention, they actually have like the bad dice that they produced, and so you buy a cup full of dice, a huge mug full of dice for like $10, and people go for that kind of stuff. And the Battletech universe, the same thing. They'll exactly.
It's a birthday present I bought for a friend of mine. I was like, oh, but yeah, it's absolutely 100% right.
Yeah. I know myself when I was doing orcs, I bought parts for every race. I was using GI Joe parts, from the toys. I was just using everything I could or find that I could find everywhere just to go put them like an orc with a GI Joe bazooka or something like that. It didn't matter. It didn't matter like what I was finding, but I wanted to do that. That's for 40K, and you find a huge industry for 40K as well to build those parts. So obviously the copyrights and all that kind of stuff is a completely different story. But for Battletech, I'm sure with the bases, because I haven't seen too many companies, except for probably Galforce 9, that actually builds bases that are have craters, little like little hex marks or like roads and stuff like that going through them. But it just all depends. But yeah, I mean parts as far as like put them in quote a dime bag. Um, uh, how would you do that? Would you do it for a single mech? Would you do that for a like my wife brought out my orc pack that I still have, basically,
Yeah.
just parts from different things. It doesn't matter like what it is, but what? Oh, Clicky Tech. I'm sorry. This is I'm sorry. You brought out the parts for Clicky Tech Dark Age. This is all parts that got jumbled up and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I know. Ew, icky. Um, but yeah, there's a whole different industry that I think you could tap into as far as there's different variants of locust. You could sell like the the locust with this basically all the variants for the locust. Here it is, type thing or something like that. I don't know. There's a whole like industry you could go and do, and that's awesome.
I was already imagining the future 10 years from
Oh
now.
yeah, sorry. Yeah,
Well,
I just
Catalyst is, and I told Brent, again, I'm sharing some conversations we have. We're just batting around ideas at this point, other than what we've committed to, which is to do the Stormcrow and the Black Knight.
Mhm.
But one of the things Brent brought up is we could do a complete giant HPG. It's mapped that the bases pieces are interchangeable and could fit perfectly on a map. Do the the old style HPG, 325 era HPGs. And I'm like, these are, they're all great ideas. It's just we got to get through this hurdle of let's get these first mechs out. And the fan base, we all cringed when because Catalyst didn't really tell us they were announcement that they made. And it's just everybody's kind of hitting us at once. Like, when can we get them? Where can we order them? And it's like, you don't have them on your website. No, we're not selling them. We sell them to Catalyst. They will sell them to you. And and the Europeans were like up in arms. They just beat the crap out of me on day one, going, you got to fix Catalyst selling stuff in Europe. I'm like, dude, I am not an employee of Catalyst. I can't fix Catalyst. If they have a problem shipping stuff to Europe and it's expensive, I don't know what to tell you. You got to work with Catalyst on that. That's not me.
Yeah.
And I had some guy in Canada all over me about that. And he's like, you're going to have to bulk shift stuff to Canada. No, I'm not. I just want some miniatures to play with. And we've been exploring a lot of different things that I think actually flip out with.
True.
And it's just, there's a couple of things we've gotten prototype. And like the Marauder that I showed you, that was us exploring how complicated one has to be. And believe me, you don't want to put one of those together. It's a pain.
How? Sorry. I was gonna ask. What are
Go
you?
ahead.
What are you doing? Like I used to do Baneblade takes with a silicone mold, and then use resin. Basically you have the resin. This is way back when though. How are you doing the process? Are you 3D printing? Are you doing resin with like silicone molds, or like how are you doing this?
Well, we have a method for producing masters, and then those have to be finely tuned and polished, and then those go in to make a set of master molds that are silicone based. There's like 14 different kinds of silicone that you can use in this casting process, and there's different ways to make those molds, and it's complicated to get it so that when you pour them, pressurize them, depressurize them, which is what you have to do to get the air bubbles out, etc.,
Yeah.
so that they come out just right. And getting them positioned in the molds correctly and building the molds does take time. And once we get those, then you get master molds that essentially you're putting in plastic resin in and having it harden. So they're really pretty good quality. I mean, they're very durable too. I've dropped mine more than once and they don't shatter on the floor or anything. Quality, we gave them over to Catalyst, both the Marauder and the Crusader, when we got the prototypes done, and they were literally checking them with micrometers and comparing them against specs for the upcoming that are coming out, and they're like, guys nailed it. So we know we've hit the right thing. We know it's producible because we made a boatload of Crusaders just for the grins. So now we're just hammering through getting the Stormcrow stuff done, and it's a process. And Kevin does a fantastic job of that. Our mold guy, and he's very much a perfectionist. But some of them are just Marauders. Just got so many little parts, and
Yeah, it does.
together, it's like I don't ever want to make Marauders again.
So what I'm curious about with the process, obviously 3D printing is a great tool for prototyping and smaller ones. At what number of miniatures do you have to produce to make something like injection molding be worth it over just 3D printing those models?
The 3D printing, the problem you run into, even with the resin 3D printing, is you depending on how you position it when you print, you get different levels of quality, and there's different amounts of settling and stuff, and getting that right. There's a magic formula that kind of Kevin's come up with for doing that, and it requires making multiple castings of the same part and get them to where the variance is acceptable from a quality perspective. 3D printing is part of this, but then there's a prep that we do on the molds before they harden, get them so that they're smooth, that there's no mold lines, that there's things that we have to do to get to those masters that's pretty time consuming. Then we go through a hardening phase to do that. The problem I think we run with 3D printing is the quality is all over the place, and it depends on how much money you're willing to spend on a printer to be able to produce good quality mechs, and what level are you willing to accept on the mechs. With ours, you don't see any of the rippling lines or any of the that as part of the process. So we had to go through and do it to a level that we were very comfortable with it, so that you couldn't tell the difference between the mechs you get in the box set versus the ones we're producing.
Okay.
And we've hit that. We know we've hit it because Catalyst has told us we've hit it. So Brent's done a couple of 3D prints. He's gave them to some of the painters, the camo specs guys, and they were early ones that they had some of the mold scenes and stuff, but they wanted to be able to print them or to paint them up so that they could show fans what they look like. So we're going through that now, and those were very early cuts of what we were doing with Stormcrow. So, and it's a fun process. It's really interesting to go through from a production capability. I think we're a ways off still from doing large scale production. Brent wants us to get to a point sometime in the next year where we could almost do a mech a month type thing. That's an aspirational goal. Don't ask me for a subscription to the Mech of the Month Club. Don't ask. I'm not doing it.
Oh, you
I think
set
it's
yourself up
actually-
then. You set yourself to be asking.
I know the freaking fans will be reaching out. They've been asking me for dime bags, which I think is hilarious. We would like to be at a point where we can be that source for Catalyst, I think. Be able to do variants, not do the mainline stuff, but do the ones that are one-off. And it gives them a greater degree of capability. You got to bear in mind, Iron Wind Metals, they do quarterly releases, and they don't add a lot of new mechs to the line each time they do that. And in many respects, they just released the Dominator, which was in a book we wrote over and published over a year ago. Their lag time is long with Iron Winds, and we have a higher degree of flexibility. There's a lot of complications from a production standpoint. You can't just take the 3D images and print them. For this to work, you have to make castable parts, which means you have to remove the arm and you have to have a way for the arm to connect to the body. So there's got to be a joint that is there that allows multiple positioning.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with the legs, the waist, etc. So you have to do this. So you start with the 3D, then you really have to. Kevin has to pull them apart and figure out what are going to be the castable components, and then how do I make those components all fit together. We have to test that, which is great to do with the 3D because you're able to kind of go through and print out test runs and
Yeah.
see how they're going to fit together. Then you can start making masters, which then have to be very carefully processed that we together before you can then make molds and start actually producing. And even then, first few runs on first few molds, we have to make changes to them. Things we have to refine to make sure the right channels are cut in the mold so that the resin flows properly and things along those lines. And it's a big quality control process. We're a ways off from doing it. Right now, we're behind schedule, I think, on getting Stormcrow and the Black Knight out, but we're working on it, you know?
Now on the scale, you mentioned basically, not going with China and then being the US and everything obviously is going to cost a little bit more. But what scale, like let's say Chaos Game Lab says, hey, we want to have all these different mechs, all these different things. What scale do you think you can do in like say 6 months or something like I know you said that basically, you're not even ready to do that, but how would the scale work for you? Are you doing it yourself or are you contracted with another company to go do it?
Oh, we're doing it ourselves right now.
Okay. Okay.
We want to keep it. We want to keep it where we can have a degree. We've had companies approach us already and go, "Hey, we got plastic injection molding. Come on over and do your stuff over here." But we want to right now keep it under our own. And if we do eventually make the migration, which I hope we do, to plastic injection molding, that's something we want to keep in house.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with the dice lathing machines and stuff. We don't want to outsource that. We want to have control over it so that we have a say in how the stuff looks and how it operates.
Okay. Okay. I was just curious about that, but so you're gonna have a warehouse and a whole staff kind of doing all the molding and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Eventually, I don't know if we'll have a warehouse. I don't know how many bags I end up with. there will be a production center somewhere.
Well, like most good game companies, they actually started off. Say White Wolf, like publishing, was in the guy's house. Basically start off with a magazine.
Yeah.
So basically, like it just start small, get up, and you'll be the next model producer.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, you look at Flames of War. They started out with very, very basic resin models with a couple of metal parts, and then they went into metal production.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're in full-blown plastic
Yeah.
injection molding stuff, and we're kind of following a similar. Starting with some hand casting stuff that we're doing, and that's going to get more automated and eventually, hopefully, fund us to the point where we can secure some plastic injection molding equipment and really have some fun.
Oh, definitely by far.
I'm kind of wondering, would you perhaps be open, maybe not right now since you're very busy, but in the future to make a behind-the-scenes documentary on how you produce miniatures?
Ooh, that'd be nice, actually.
Or
I think
get
at some
someone else
point,
to do it?
at some point we will. Right now, I don't. Your comments about a garage operation are fairly accurate. I don't think we want to show people what we're going through at this stage. Once it's very repeatable, I think people will want to see that. I would be wide open to that. I think Brett will too. But right now, no, nobody wants to see some of us struggling. As we're
I mean, now that you say it, I do like seeing people struggle.
yeah. You want to wallow in our agony. I get it, no, but at some point we will be. We've been as transparent as we can about this, and that's why I'm saying these are ideas we're bouncing around, like the HPG and ACEs and mags of parts, and I just don't like the concept of throwing away parts that somebody might be able to use. That's just I'm not a big green person. I just think that's wasteful. And somebody out there is interested in the parts, I'd say sell them the damn parts. Now you got to, just like I said, there's a big challenge of, well, buying a bag of Stormcrow parts, or you just buying a bag of whatever parts we throw in there. You're buying it by weight, And
Yeah.
might get 14 Marauder torsos. I don't know. It could be. Then there'll be this whole black market selling
There
arms and
always
legs
is.
of mechs.
Always is, trust me. Always is.
Okay, so maybe one final question about the miniature things. Do you know how Catalyst chose the Stormcrow and Black Knight?
I don't. I think it's because with the Tookie address of the game set, Tookie Ed, etc., that the Black Knight's right on the cover of it. I mean, with the sword.
Great artwork
So,
too. Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, I think some of it is driven by some of the product that they have coming out the door. I told Brett at some point they need to put a poll about, well, what variants would you like to see? But some of the questions I've been getting, and I'll answer them just because some of your fans, you guys haven't asked them, but I'll answer them as best
Okay.
I can, because they're like, well, are you going to make a bunch of, if you're doing the Stormcrow, why aren't you doing all the variants and just putting the arms in bag and everybody can do it? And that is, well, Catalyst asked us to do this very specific variant. The goal here is to not produce bags of arms and legs, but produce, full-blown miniatures where, you will do it, assemble the one you want. Will we ever get to the point where you're ordering, a Timberwolf and there's all the different configurations, or a Vulture and all the different? I don't know. That's up to Catalyst. That's not us. We are manufacturing for Catalyst, so they will set that direction.
Okay.
That question's come up quite a bit, and this is what I want. Great that you want it, but I don't place any orders, so yeah, if you want to commit to 500 of these, then we'll talk.
Yeah, true.
Right now, it doesn't work that way. And I don't know if that would be a good thing if you got one torso, one set of legs, and 16 arms. Is that useful? Yeah, you can. And to your point, you were talking earlier about magnetizing. Believe me, we've toyed with doing recesses for those too.
Yeah.
Little, 2mm magnet where you could recess for it and stuff, and you could do it. We actually modeled one up and tested it, and they hold up much better with the plastic than the metal. Put them on metal, and the arm kind of does the
Yeah.
slowly
That slowly
drops.
drops down. Yeah, true. But I
With
know,
plastic,
sorry, go on.
have some fun.
Oh yeah.
Plastic, you can have some fun and actually sit there and weapons. And I know with Titanicus, that I purchased and did, first thing I did was mount in all magnets so I can aim actual weapons. So I love that stuff too.
Yeah, like with orcs and marines and stuff like that for dreadnoughts for 40K, I did the same thing. I just drilled a little hole, put a magnet in, and I had different weapon configurations for my dreadnouts and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like that. But for BattleTech, you have certain configurations, and like you were saying, would people buy all the configurations for, say, the Stormcrow or something like that, or would they buy like everything for the Vulture, in one baggie or something like that to go ahead and have it for their mechs? I don't know. Who knows?
I don't know, and it
Yeah.
becomes more of a warehousing issue and production issue too to
Mhm.
do that. I think the approach they've taken actually here by going, look, we're going to produce this variant, and I think that's actually a really good way to do it. Hey, you get your arm, your leg, your arms, your legs, your torso, you're ready to go.
Yeah.
I think doing each variant separately is probably the most sane approach. But fans have been asking me, like, send me a bag of these, and I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. Yeah.
Jeez.
If Catalyst comes up next week and to do it that way, we'll figure out a way to.
Well, like I think they've been like accustomed to 40K, where you could do that. You could order like I want to have all arm shields of this certain chapter, like something like that, and you could do that now. Based on what they're
Oh
doing, but
yeah.
they're a bigger like production value. But yeah. Okay. So I do you have anything else to go and add for the miniature company? Going from there. Feel like your own game or like anything else there.
Oh, our own game is going to be a lot. I worked on the initial design of it. It's in development. Oh, and it ties in. It's a cool thing. It's set 25 years in the future. It is a modern military game. We really wanted to do something where you had a tabletop game and an RPG that were fully integrated. Because nothing's more fun than rolling up a character, putting them into a small unit action on tabletop miniatures. And doing something 25 years in the future lets us leverage a lot of stuff that's out there right now
Mm-hmm.
to be able to do this. So we've come up with a really cool system that's kind of role-playing cards and dice and stuff that it's just it's really cool to do, and it's based off a lot of things that are currently on the board in terms of technological development for military operations. So it's really just fun. So we're in the concept art stage and the development. So it's starting to come together.
Cool.
So,
Cool.
and it's Brent and it's Brent's baby. Brent came up with the initial idea, and then he kind of cut me loose on how to make it cool. And it's a neat concept.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't wait. Actually, that sounds like a lot of fun. Do you think it's going to be like in a box set or more like books and then you can purchase the miniatures?
I know I can't say at this point.
Okay.
We're going to be doing a lot through Kickstarter launches. That's
Mm-hmm.
just going to be it's a model we did. We did a drinking game for the 2020 election, and it was very successful on Kickstarter and delivered. We actually delivered in 3 weeks.
Wow.
Our approach is with Kickstarters. Buying our Kickstarter, you're going to get the stuff quick. So like we went through the novels that I've written for this. We've already had them edited. Hired the original editor from the FASA days,
Mm-hmm.
Sharon Mulvihill.
Mm-hmm.
She did the editing on them, so she's familiar with my writing style, and it was a new universe. So for her, it was a lot of fun too. So those books are done and edited, and Brent's working artwork for the covers done. So by the time we do the Kickstarter, those products are ready to go.
Cool.
That becomes important. And what we want to do is be able to tie a few miniatures into the books. So if you're reading about a character, it would be really cool to get the miniature for the character part of the Kickstarter. And then when the game finally does come out, you've already got a handful of miniatures ready to go.
True.
Or you
Yeah.
can use them in other stuff. And so that's kind of at a broad level where we're going to go with it, but it's a neat system, and it's just science fiction-y, it's military, it's got all sorts of cool stuff. It's going to be a lot of blowing up stuff.
That's the best part of gaming, right? Blowing up things.
I know. Well, yeah, everybody forgets. Like, I'm a gamer, man. I like playing this stuff. So
Mm-hmm. Nuclear
blow
escalation, the card
something up.
game, yeah.
It's always, blow something up o'clock somewhere.
Yeah, true. Okay.
And that would be a perfect transition into the kind of last segment we're interested in, Blaine. You're playing Mechwarrior Online. Have you played the game a lot throughout the last year?
Yeah, I was playing this morning.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
Okay. Cool.
Well, there's the Advent thing, so you got to play a little bit every day. It's for me, it's a little reward. So if I finish a chapter, I play Mechwarrior. If I finish a piece of a project, I can play 3 rounds. It's candy for me, and I like the game because it's the closest thing we have to putting you in the cockpit, short
True.
of going for the mech pods at Gen Con, which I love.
Oh, yeah.
I dump so much money into those things. And my grandson loves it. My son loves it. Our friends we go in with like 8 guys and
Yeah.
an hour.
Yeah, I
It's a
really wish I could
lot
have
of
that
fun.
experience at some point in Europe.
I used to spend
Oh,
my whole weekend on those pods in Walnut Creek. and that they got the bar
Oh,
and
yeah.
everyone's dressed up and everything. I used to spend my whole weekend just playing that. It was just cool. I loved it. At $10 a pop for 30 minutes, yeah, that it gets expensive, very expensive.
Yeah.
It does. I love what I like MechWarrior Online as much as people bitch about it. I came into it mostly because it takes so long to download.
Yeah,
And it was just one of those things where never had the patience to actually wait for the download, and I finally did. I enjoy it. As much as people complain about it, I'm like, it's pretty straightforward to me.
Yep.
Uh, I drive an Atlas mostly. I got a direwolf I just recently got from a friend. He gave me the configuration for it.
I can hear Biden internally screeching about inefficiency.
Well, no,
Well,
no, Battletech Atlas, good.
the only complaint I have is I'm like, wow, these PPC should have destroyed this mech by now. And gee, how can you take 8 Gauss rifle rounds in the center torso and still be standing? That doesn't. There's little things like that where I go against the canon. It's different. I'm at a point now where I can pretty much identify a mech just looking off. Oh, I know what that guy's piloting.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Mhm.
What's
I have a
your?
lot of fun with it.
Oh yeah, like I have fun with it. Don't get me wrong, but after making videos for like 7 years on it, and editing through hours and constant hours and everything, I kind of limit myself like on it now because I don't want to get too burnt out like I did in Star Trek Online. So I still love the game. I want to see it exceed beyond whatever it is now, but I don't play as much as I used to though now. Now, and that I do get some complaints about that, but I just tell them, say, look, I don't want to get burnt out. I don't want to like sit there and go, I'm done. Battletech, I'm done. I'm gonna go play something else. I'm gonna go do like, well, I mean, Cyberpunk's come up, but I'm gonna do something else now. I don't want to be that type of thing.
I think the biggest problem that they have is there's no good way, and it was hard for me. I have a huge background in the universe.
Mhm.
It was hard for me to get it going, and I ended up reaching out to a friend of mine who was playing, and he kind of tutored me through some stuff, gave me some mechs and configurations. It helped me kind of get going, gave me some tips on how to avoid overheating and things along those lines that I still use today. If I didn't have somebody kind of helping me through this, I was screwed. And
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people who download the game, and I've talked to people who told me, well, I downloaded the game and tried to play it and I got frustrated. And they need to have a buddy program to kind of help you get into this. And if they did that, they'd have people that would play it a lot more. I can't. I'd be curious to ever see what their statistics are for the number of people who download it, play it twice, and delete it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think it's pretty high. And like I said, I have a strong background in the universe, and it was a pain in the ass. And I still won't go into an arena. Will not go in.
Yeah.
I've never. If I can score 10 points of damage in or myself, a lot. Those guys that are in.
You're breaking in and out,
Sniping.
actually.
Oh, the guys that are in the arena are
Mhm.
just in there sniping. I mean,
Yeah.
I can get 10 points. I consider myself lucky. I do much more carnage where there's lots of.
Yeah, like lots of different like things happening, right? Yeah, actually, we had an idea
Yeah.
about the new player experience, and that's what they really need. That's what we think
Yeah.
that they're going to be getting into for next year is helping new players get into the game because it does have a high learning curve as far as what to do, where to go, how to pilot, what weapons, configurations, overheating, like everything, positioning, like all that kind of stuff. And so next year, for what we're understanding from Darren, is that they're going to be getting the new player experience into that, getting people either back into the game or new players coming into the game, which is be the greatest thing for MechWarrior Online.
Yeah. So Blaine, are you keeping up to date with the revitalization effort or not at all?
Not really. And I've heard all sorts of, people grumble about it, and I don't want to get caught up in all that. No. To me, the biggest grumble I have is when a patch comes and I didn't match was coming because I didn't pay attention, and I got to download it before I play, and I hate that.
So the
I
last
just
year
want to
was
go blow
perfect for
stuff.
you.
Yeah, the last one was perfect there, right?
Yeah,
It's
I
only
just
5
wanted to
seconds.
right. I just wanted to blow stuff up. I wish they would, seem like they're moving away from a lot of the support of the game in terms of adding new arenas and stuff. It seems to have kind of drifted off, which is fine. There's plenty of variation there. It is funny to watch how people play. And I've tried to reflect it a little bit even in my writing, because it's like as soon as they get a contact, everybody starts converging on that contact, and all of the damage is done like it.
All
It's
the
like
damage is done point blank range, you said?
yeah, all
Okay.
done point blank range. Everybody rushes in and just gets real close and starts shooting each. You guys do know there's a subtle nuance to these ranges and stuff, right?
True.
And nothing's worse
Can't-
than some 14-year-old kid waxing my in the and then
I
and
can't wait
bragging
to hear
about
in Hour of the Wolf of how it goes back and forth for so long, and there's a final fight, and it just turns into a giant NASCAR.
yeah. It's demolition derby is what it becomes. It's like everybody run in the middle, go, boom, bumper cars.
True. Okay. I have to ask. I'm sorry. What about Clan Wolverine? What's going on? Are they coming back? Are they lost forever in the Battletech lore? What's going on?
During the Kickstarter, we released Redemption and Malice for the Kickstarter backers. And I dropped a little hint of something there, and people have read way much more into it than they should have. But I always kind of position it this way. I don't think you're going to get a resolution to Clan Wolverine soon. God knows I tried. Some snuck a Wolverine novel up. Look,
You're breaking up. I'm sorry.
list
Like
of
you're breaking up again.
I snuck a Wolverine novel up on the board of lists of books for the next 3 years, and Randall wasn't looking. So I said, "Are we approving everything on the board?" And he goes, "Yes." I said, "Yes." And everybody else saw it, and they're like, "Dude, you just approved a Wolverine novel." And he went over and he wiped it off the board.
Oh man.
I was like, "Dude." He goes, "No, it doesn't work that way." And he's right, but that's how childish we become in these meetings. There's no plan right now for me to do anything with the Wolverines, and I don't think anybody else in the next 3 years.
Okay.
And I've got a whole bunch of fans lined up every time something in Hour of the Wolf comes out there. Go, aha! The Wolverines are going to be the ones that take Terra. And I'm with no prelude. I mean, we have had all these books building up to it, and at no point did we use the word Wolverine. Well, one time we did,
Yeah.
but it's just like you just think I'm going to Deutsches Machina a Wolverine solution. Yeah, like no, not happen. No. And I keep telling them no, and the more I tell them no, the more the people are like, aha, that's exactly what's happening.
obviously.
Well, like there's like weird theories that they went past Canopus, they're fighting aliens, that alien invasion coming to the inner sphere, or like just like really, it's like there's like so many things going on.
That's a Faza thing. When back in the day, people would ask where are Clan Wolverine, and standard Faza answer was they're out fighting aliens in the proof.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was meant to be a joke. It was a joke, and the fans literally are like, "That's what they're doing. There's aliens out there. They're out there doing," and they've come up with all these bizarre theories, and I can't even confirm whether Redemption and Malice is actually a Wolverine thing or not. I'm not going to. But I deliberately screwed with the fan base and said, "Well, if you want to think it's Wolverines, you can. Otherwise, it's just a last name. It could be anybody." And the fans just, oh my God, they've created a whole thing about it. And these guys are fanatical, which I should take as a compliment.
Yeah.
But The counter is let it go, guys. They're like, yeah, but you wrote Trail of Ideals. I said I wrote it 10 years ago. It's not a current thing.
Yeah.
The fact that you just read it, that's good, but that doesn't mean it's the thing that's happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would love to be I would love to be able to tell you what I have a story in mind for them. Really and truly do.
Mm-hmm.
I know exactly what I want to do with them. I know exactly how I'd like to leverage them. I don't think we're going to be getting into that anytime soon. And that's because we mapped out the next 3 years worth of novels. And trust me, the Wolverine novel didn't cut it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Could you technically publish it as fan fiction, or would you get in trouble for that?
I don't want to take a month and a half to write something that I'm not going to get paid for.
Yeah. True.
So
Fine.
if I'm going to spend a month and a half writing something, I'm going to get paid for it. I'm a mercenary, okay?
Just
People
need to
always go,
write,
"Oh, you work for Catalyst." I'm like,
just
no, Catalyst sends me a check. I'm a merc.
just write a 30-minute fanfic about them fighting aliens in the periphery.
There you go.
Oh, God. Because the fans can't distinguish between me being a wise ass
Yeah.
and reality. They just can't. That's why every year I do an April Fool's joke, and people always read into it. Oh my God, that's brilliant. Let's do that. Oh, that's what they're planning. And it's like, guys, it says April Fool's joke in the weekend.
Yeah.
But every year I do one, and every year the base does not know how to distinguish fiction from reality.
Well, you talked about
So yeah,
yeah. You talked about patriotic of
I got
ideas. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I've got a bunch of great Wolverine ideas that I would love to do, but right now that's not going to be a priority.
Yeah. Yeah, you talked about patriotic of ideas and how it was written 10 years ago, even before the clans invaded, too. So, looking at that, books don't have to be exactly on the time period. Basically, it's not like Star Trek where every time it's like, it's progressing to next time period, next time period, next time period for the next thing. But then there's also, then it went back to Enterprise, went back to Discovery. Then they're going back. And it could be about like anything, like even their journey to the Inner what planets they saw, what they encounter, just that type of stuff instead of just all clans stuff. But yeah, it doesn't have to be like that, just like you said. Yeah, I get that actually. That's cool.
Yeah, I believe me, I've got a couple of great ideas, but I'm hoping with Shrapnel, which is the magazine, that may open some doors for me, some exploration.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I've enjoyed Shrapnel. I got a story coming out in the next issue that it just allows you to do some creative shit that you can't normally do because you're not writing a novel. It's a short story. So I've got one coming out in the next one, and it's a Western. It's True Grit. It's True Grit and Battletech, and it only very lightly touches on kind of True Grit. So
Yeah. Also, too,
there's
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
fun.
Oh yeah.
No, I
Definitely.
love the Shrapnel.
I love reading those too, man. Shrapnel, they got some good stuff in it for the role playing aspect, from the stories to like all a bunch of different scenarios and everything. I love that actually. I love they do that kind of stuff, like a fan magazine that covers all aspects of BattleTech.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
Finally complete with Shrapnel is I want more art. I like the artwork.
Yeah, definitely.
Speaking
That'd
of
be cool.
artwork, I'm just gonna check because I do have a question regarding Hour of the Wolf. Like this is one of the artworks for the Battle of Tukaid, which for me has kind of changed my perspective on a battle because the books describe it more in a clean trial kind of way, whereas this artwork really showcases the actual terror of this. And I was wondering if Hour of the Wolf is gonna take a bit more time to really dive into that aspect of the fight, especially seeing how big it's going to get.
Well, the cover of Hour of the Wolf is out there, and it is literally one of the scenes of the book.
Hmm.
And I was actually that's one of the things I've really enjoyed about the current realm of BattleTech is I never used to get asked about what I wanted for cover. You just get these covers and you're like, where the hell did that come from? And sometimes you would say that, like what chapter is this from again? Because I don't remember writing it. Hour of the Wolf has artwork. Literally, when I was asked what I would do, I said, "Here's the text from the first draft," and the artist I think nailed it. Because that's an actual scene that we get to see in the book,
Is
and I
that a
think that's
Lyric Wolf
exciting.
versus Melvina Hudson?
That Alaric? Well, let me just ask you: are those the markings on a Savage Wolf for Alaric?
I'll be honest, I don't know.
See, it's an alpha and an omega on there, and a red triangle on top. So that's a defined character.
I know
I'll
from
have to do more research.
So
yeah, I know
fans
from
have figured
myself.
it out.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And if you go to the website and look at the actual artwork where the title doesn't obscure the upper portion of that shriek, you'll actually be able to tell who's piloting the Jrnyman. It's on the shoulder.
Okay.
So, believe me, and that's one thing I will say I have had to change in the last few years. I used to just ignore camouflage schemes and paint colors and stuff, and I've learned now I have to really pay close attention because the fans go out and model this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
they model it a lot. And I had a discussion with Phil Lee this week about one of the units, and he goes, "You mentioned the tank is painted this. Is that the colors for the whole unit?" And I said, "Well, no, that's just the tank. Tank Star is going to be those colors." And he's like, "Okay, because the fans are going to ask." And I'm like, well, they do know that we paint mechs. I mean, if you're going to be fighting in an urban environment, you paint grays and blacks, and if you're fighting in the forest, you paint your mech green, right? And he goes, "No, they don't get that."
Yeah, that's one of the things about camo specs when they actually have the camo for them. It's like some are like painted half white or and then half green or something like that. It's like, you're gonna go where now? You're gonna go inside the forest? I'm not gonna see you. But that's how they expect
Look,
it to be for the units.
it can't camouflage a mech anyway. It's running at
Yeah.
70 kilometers per hour. It's 3 stories tall. Every time its foot hits the ground, everything's going to shake. Painting, you might as well just paint it orange at that point because there's no way it stops, raises its arms, and you go, "Oh, that must be a tree."
True.
It's just not happening.
Yeah, that's why I wondered about. But the thing is, too, like a lot of types of units that they have, the commanders have this like distinctive color scheme. It's like, I'm hitting that guy. I'm going to shoot that guy first because obviously he's giving the commands, type
Yes.
thing. So it's like, yeah, okay,
Yes.
yeah, like World War II, basically.
And you'll see some snippets of how I counter some of that in an hour or two because I recognize that exact thing. It's like you don't want a distinct mech.
No. Is there anything else you want to add as far as Mechwarrior, Miniature Company, books, Catalyst Games Labs, Kickstarters, like your own game or anything else that you want to add to this?
Oh no, it's been great talking to you guys. I'm open to any questions you have, and I hope everybody is gonna read all the prelude stuff leading up to Hour of the Wolf so that you really get the when it drops on New Year's Day, you're going to have a real treat, I think.
Cool. Yeah,
Yep.
definitely.
I've
we
already
had
blocked
a
my calendar for that day.
pardon?
I just blocked my calendar for January 1st. Not gonna be available for anyone that day.
It's a lot of book reading, man.
It is. What's really interesting too is that it's all the cultural stuff that happened. We're working on Hour of the Wolf. You had the end of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So that happened, and everybody was like, "Oh, what if we pick it up?" what if we end up with a scenario where the fans view this Game of Thrones-ish? And I'm like, it doesn't. I was confident we weren't there, but there's that fear. Then you had the Avengers Endgame come out, and everybody was like, okay, that's the bar you want to shoot for. There was a lot going on where it's like, how do you capture some of those elements? And I think the fans are gonna. There's something in there for everyone. Um, I think the end of the book will leave everybody with their jaws hanging wide open.
My problem is though I haven't actually got past the Dark Age. I haven't basically learned a lot about it. I'm doing that now though. I'm reading stuff. I'm looking up lore, going through the Dark Age into the Republic and all that kind of stuff. But I have to ease my way into it, that kind of thing. But but I have to.
The latter novels are good though, Bob. They're getting a lot better.
Oh, okay. Well, like just the lore aspect,
and it's gonna get better.
Just push through it. Okay, definitely have to push through it then. I'll have to push through that and go read it then.
Well, the Dark Age, everybody gave the Dark Ages such a bad thing because of the click. And I get it. I was there during the period, and it was worse for us as writers. But the one thing no one can deny is the ClickMex brought in a load of fans.
Yeah,
and it got younger people engaged in the game. He migrated to classic BattleTech with zero problems.
Yeah, definitely.
And everybody always badmouths the whole Dark Ages thing because it's very socially acceptable to do. That was the ClickMex. They're terrible. I played that crap with my kids. They were 7 or 8 years old, and we were playing that stuff. We fielded huge armies. I mean, we were just fight for a whole afternoon, and it was a lot of fun. And whereas if I had tried to get them into BattleTech, scribbling off little boxes and dots,
it's a lot harder to do. Yeah,
it's a lot harder. To me, it's a lot of fun.
I don't even fault the clicky tech so much. I enjoy the idea of it. My main issue has always been the lower aspect of the Dark Ages. So that's why I'm saying like just push through the initial bits. It's a bit but it's getting a lot better towards the end.
Mine was kind of the both. Clicky tech was buying in boxes of a surprise box really kind of pissed me off. Basically because I wanted certain types of things, and go to third market really sucked back then.
Box.
Yeah, and then also the lore aspect was one of my things too. Basically it didn't make sense, that type of thing. But yeah, like I'll just shut up there.
No, it was for us. That was a hard thing because we were his writer. I know I personally reached out to him when they started it. Reached out to his kids and said, "Okay, I'd be more than willing to start working on your novels." And they were like, "No, we're going to hire professional authors."
Oh God. Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't the only one. There was all the BattleTech authors, with the exception of Stackpole, who got out the first book, basically got sidelined.
Yeah.
And they were like, we're going to bring in professional writers. You guys don't write well. You know what we're doing. And we're like, look, we've been doing this. We have established fans. We can help you with this. And they're like, no. But I crack up because the editor that did that, I believe, has gone on now to do the new Star Wars stuff. And I just was like, oh my God, if that's the same person that I was dealing with, I was like, holy crap, she's a moron. There's no other word for it. It was like, you literally trampled on people that could have carried the fans forward, and some of the books are just ridiculously stupid. I read them and I was like, "This is a battle."
The same thing Disney did with Star Wars.
I still have to read them, so I'll try to have a. I don't know. I'll read them. I'll see from there.
Keep an open mind.
Yeah, I'll keep an open mind.
To skip the novels that sound stupid in the first few pages.
You mean the whole? Okay, sorry. So. Okay, Ian, I think it's your turn.
It's my turn.
Yes.
But I'm done.
You're done? Oh wow. Okay.
Okay. We are running out of time. Blaine, I think we could absolutely talk for another few days.
Dude, trust me, I know we can.
I think for the purposes
give me a ring after January 1st.
Oh,
after January.
we plan to.
Okay,
Trust me,
cool.
we definitely plan to.
Yeah. So, Blaine, do you have any last words or final things you want to say throughout the recording?
Oh, and Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy New Year.
Yep. Happy New Year
Yep.
to you too as well, and Merry Christmas. You know, as far as if
Thank you.
it doesn't get canceled, you know, unfortunately. That's gonna be. But yeah. Thank you, Blaine,
All
for
right.
being on the First Circuit podcast 134. We actually made a mistake on that. We said 133, but hey, it's okay. We are professionals, by the way. So I do appreciate you being here, Blaine. We plan to have you on again, and I'll message you through Discord or through Twitter on the Twitterverse and everything. And feel free if you want to add something in later on. Hey guys, I want to talk about this. Let us know. We'll be more than happy to have you on as well too. And thank you so much for being on the First Circuit podcast.
Thank you, guys. It was good talking to the fans.
No, definitely, it was great talking. I mean, I'm ecstatic, man. I mean, it's like, oh my god, talking to Blaine. So yeah. But
you'll get past that.
I know. Let's get that Blaine guy out again. Let's get him there. I don't know. Let's not have him then. Okay. Anyways, so tonight's hosts are Blaine, obviously. Say bye. Bye. Say bye.
You should have started with me and Ian.
Okay,
so you know the routine.
Ian, say bye.
Everyone. And remember, next week, the Catcast, episode 1.
Yes, the cat. God, how's that gonna go? The cat cast. That's be interesting. Okay, and Biter.
Lark.
And myself, Fullbob10025. And thank you for everything you guys do, supporting the channel, supporting everything you guys do. Thank you so much. We will see you on the Catcast. And I'll try to get more information about that. And one final thing, I will try not to put a dime bag on the thumbnail. I will try not to do that, but no promises. No promises.
Yeah, there's no way you're going to be able to resist. I won't hold you to it. I just know it's going to happen.
Okay, thank you, everyone. See you next time. Catcast.
Bye, guys.